Greetings from Tromaville. This is Lloyd Kaufman, president of Troma and creator of the Toxic Avenger. You know, folks, when we're not making those great movies like Tromeo and Juliet and Return to Nukem High, we like to listen to the Horror Drunks podcast, because Horror Drunks podcast is the best podcast about it. Poetry, interpretive dancing, and Walt Whitman.
You're listening to the Horror Drunks You're listening to the Horror Drunks podcast. This is John Russo, screenwriter of Night of the Living Dead and many other movies and books, and this is just a great station that you should listen to. So tune in, and if you don't, I'll come and I'll kill you.
Hey man, thrill me. You better watch shit. Watch. hey, better tune in to Horror Drunks podcast, or I'm coming after your asses, wherever you are. Hey, this is Tom Atkins. Thrill me. You better tune in to the Horror Drunks podcast. It's Miller time, baby.
This is Sid Haig, and I want you to listen to the Horror Drunks podcast. I'll come over there and put my boot all up in your ass.
This is Julian Sands, and I want you to listen to the Horror Drunks podcast.
There'll be food and drink and ghosts, and perhaps even a few murders. You're all invited.
You think that when you die, you go to heaven. You come to us.
You're crazy.
No, I'm dead. Plain and simple.
Long live the near flesh.
Got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
Your father raised my son!
Why do you eat people?
Not people. Brains.
Why?
Pain.
What do we do?
Why don't we just wait here for a little while? See what happens.
This is the Horror Drunks podcast, and this is a special episode. We're doing George Romero, a feature on George Romero, and Scott isn't here, but he will be phoning in, or we'll be calling him.
Yeah, we're going to call him.
And why isn't he here, Randy?
Oh, because Scott has a mom, and Scott's mom loves him, and he loves his mom, unlike you and I, so, like, we can do this sort of thing on Mother's Day, but he has mom obligations.
Your mom is dead.
Yep.
My mom is dead to me.
Yep.
That sounds bad, but it's true. You do your sad but true little...
Sad but true!
Yeah,
starting with George.
Yeah, so George, if you didn't know you were a fan of him, you were probably, because he started with Mr. Rogers. You might have not have known that.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're George Romero virgin, which I can't imagine you would be and be listening to this podcast at the same time. Yeah, everybody watched Mr. Rogers as a kid, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, so you've probably seen some of his work, and even if you've seen a lot of his work, you've probably seen some of his work and not even known that it was his, unless you knew that he did the Mr. Rogers thing. Most people do at this point. It's been mentioned in like a dozen documentaries. And
yeah, my intro to George was Creepshow when I was a kid, and all I remembered was the cockroach thing. And then it turned to Day, and that scared the shit out of me.
Night of the Living Dead is actually like my
intro.
Yeah, that was like the beginning of my obsession with horror films. Like,
really?
Yeah, I was weird and fairly obsessed with horror-related stuff before that. Like, before I got into music and movies, I was like a video game comic book kid, and like the video games I like were horror, like Castlevania and things of that nature. A lot of the comic books that I read were like, Ghost Rider and fucking shit like that. So, yeah, but Night of the Living Dead, I distinctly remember the Pearson Road Mire used to have a video rental place in it, and my family was there one day, and they had a cheap public domain VHS copy of Night of the Living Dead, and my dad's like, we're going to get this and watch this tonight as a family.
Really?
Yeah, so it's
I thought they were like strict as far as...
This was before the crazy summer where my mom hauled us all into the Catholic Church. That was really when all the nuttiness started.
That's why you're so against religion.
That's a big part of it.
Because you had a moment in your life where you weren't religious, and then the religion came in and it
ruined everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, it's my dad's fault that I'm a metalhead and a horror fiend because he introduced me to Black Sabbath like right around the same time. So, but that just kind of segues into our first film to talk about is Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, he that's his first feature length, and he did like we said, he did like a couple of shorts, commercials, Mr. Rogers. I'm sure he hates hearing it, but he is the godfather of the zombie.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, before him, most zombie films,
grandfather of the zombie, whatever,
were like the voodoo style zombies. Like just kind of reanimating the dead to use them as slaves or whatever,
like White Zombie.
Yeah, the first movie that really kind of moved beyond that a little bit was Plague of the Zombies, the Hammer movie, and then 2 years later was Night of the Living Dead, and that just like fucking turned everything on its head. You know? And Night of the Living Dead owes more than a little bit of gratitude to Last Man on Earth. I mean, more or less, the plot is very similar. Trapped in a house, trying to fend off people from breaking in. Mm-hmm. He, in typical Romero fashion, worked a lot of social commentary into it.
Yeah. He explains it's about ignoring the problem is what Night of the Living Dead is.
Sure, and that's Americana right there. Mm-hmm. Is just ignore it until it's too late and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, he said after 9/11, we are starting to ignore the problem again.
Yep. So, Night of the Living Dead, lots of problems with that film as far as distribution goes. Everybody knows that they didn't get any fucking money for it, and then it basically just wound up public domain. And, even to this day, I think you could just, throw out a copy of Night of the Living Dead on DVD if you wanted to.
Yeah, you can distribute it if you want to, yeah. We could do a commentary with video if we wanted to.
So, obviously, we don't need to, recap the story or anything. Everybody knows Night. Just touch on a few of the cooler things and the points about the movie that we really enjoy. Obviously the impact of having Ben the black lead.
Yeah, one of the first black leads.
Yeah, having him as the hero, and
which today in horror films is still rare. They usually go first. It's a hacky little joke that you can throw out anytime you watch a horror movie and a black person dies.
The token Black Death, yep. It's I would like to think that at this point that directors are past that.
Maybe that's even a little social commentary that George did with the black lead not dying. Or
I think that was before that was a thing, though, in the 60s. So the zombies in Night, they look good. They all look fresh, because this is the first day of the infection or whatever.
Yeah.
A lot of them have cool fresh looking wounds, and some of the effects pretty good and effective, like the corpse up on the stairs. That's pretty gnarly looking.
And since it's black and white, the chocolate blood doesn't really.
Yeah.
They could have used anything for blood.
That's one of the beauty parts of black and white, is you can get something viscous and syrupy that's just not even the right color, but has a cool texture to it or whatever.
And then they remastered it with color.
Oh yeah, I've never seen a colorized version of it.
Yeah, I have.
The most embarrassing thing might be the Russo reboot in the the 90s, where he added all the extra footage and.
I didn't see that.
You've never seen that? Oh my god, it's really bad.
Really? They just had a bunch of footage laying around cut.
No.
Oh.
He shot new footage
for real
and spliced it in.
Oh, but with just no faces. Just like
no.
What?
It was
with the main actors.
No.
Oh.
It was like just different scenes. Like there were some scenes at the cemetery, like before Johnny and Barbara get there, and there were some scenes like added into the little zombie stomp gore montage toward the beginning of the third act when the truck explodes and stuff like that. And I think there was a bit toward the end that they threw in, but it was just all, it didn't mesh well, and it was really hokey and bad. Like,
that's why you weren't excited to see John Russo at the horror convention.
Oh, I just, I'd seen the guy and met the guy a bunch of times up until that point.
Oh, okay, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get Scott on the phone. I don't know how this is gonna work, but go ahead, Randy.
All right, I'm gonna call him. Calling Scott, put it on speaker.
Please join us for Rise and Ring back tone while your party is
I can hear it. That's a stupid.
He used to have
tune.
Game of Thrones music.
He's such a nerd.
Yeah. And then, oh look, it's Scott.
It's Scott. Hey, Scott, you're on the podcast.
What's up, guys?
Not a lot. We're just talking to Romero, and we're just wanting to get your little.
Yeah, we need your feedback. You need to tell us, like, how do you feel about George?
Yeah, where does he rank in your directors and why?
Oh, let's see. I think George Romero probably ranks. That's probably number 4 on my all-time list. I was like, because he does a lot of just amazing films. I mean, Night, Dawn, and Day are all just fucking fantastic. Great.
Thank you.
God damn.
Man, jeez.
You can't just be like, I like George Bunch.
He likes to talk a lot, not on the podcast, but when he gets on this thing, he's short-winded. We are gonna, I guess we score.
Yeah, we'll score a night. I say like 8.75.
Yeah, I was gonna say about 8.5, mainly because of the influence it had.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really sentimental and the influence, and it's just a good film.
Mm-hmm.
It has its its drawbacks or whatever, but they're minimal at best. Like, all the acting is really, really solid, except for like the 2 kids whose names I can't remember, the basement kids that were down there with the Coopers. But there's just a lot to love about it, and it definitely earns an 8.75 from me.
Yep, and so we're going to go to... Oh, so he made a movie called There's Always Vanilla. It's like a romantic comedy. Couldn't find it. It doesn't matter. It's not horror.
I remember seeing it for sale once at Best Buy, like way back when, and reading the back and just putting it back.
And then we go to Season of the Witch, which we both saw, but it's been so long.
I watched that one really early. I didn't appreciate it then, because at that point I was all about blood and thunder and gore, But now I have like a huge appreciation for gothic horror and like witchcraft related films, and the trailer makes it look pretty cool.
Yeah, we didn't get to watch it because I couldn't find it available, but we watched the trailer. It's a refresh in it, and it looked cool. I mean, the quality of the trailer was VHS, but
I genuinely remembered nothing about it. I saw it 23 years ago.
Yeah,
so.
that didn't look familiar to me at all.
Yeah, I don't like. Based on the trailer, it looks really hallucinatory and lots of cool imagery. Typical, like, satanic 70s stuff, nude women, the altar, witchcraft, bloodletting.
A lot of movies are like that in that era, the early 70s.
Yeah, satanic 70s.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then we jump up to 1973 with The Crazies.
That was one of the... I only watched 2. I had a really... atypically busy week, so I didn't get to watch much, but I did watch The Crazies.
Yeah, I watched it too.
It's a really good one. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I like it.
It's one that I actually like a little bit more every time I watch it. Like, I was not necessarily lukewarm to it the first time I saw it, but, it's not as fucking full bore, pedal to the floor as the rest of his movies.
No.
And not as, grand guignol and the gore.
Well, he hasn't even honed his craft by then. Scott just wrote, "You hung up on me really fast." Well, sorry, Scott. We'll get back to you when it gets done.
I mean, fuck, God.
Yeah, on top of that, the phone quality, it kept cutting out. So.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
We'll try.
It's probably Scott's fault somehow.
Oh, for sure. The only gripe I had with the Crazies, the fucking score was stupid. It was just the snare war drum thing.
Yeah, I like the minimalist score though. You know.
Yeah, but it was an old Confederate drum thing going on. Yeah, just through the whole fucking thing.
That movie has a lot of really creepy subplots. Like, God, I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy that plays Dr. Frankenstein and Day of the Dead.